Hi Erica, Rob here. Got your email with your images. So I'm going to go through each of these, answer your questions. The quality you sent me is fine. They're kind of like raw JPEGs. I never shoot RAW, by the way. I 100% always shoot JPEG. I don't think RAW is necessary, but I don't really get into it too much because people get quite fanatical about that. I save time, so shooting RAW is going to take me more time, and the results are pretty much the same. However, I'm not going to argue with anybody who wants to shoot RAW. So we'll talk about the lighting in a minute. You mentioned you added a kicker, and you mentioned that you don't like how the kicker spills onto her face, which is something I noticed, and that's easily solved. Okay, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about posing and what you're doing wrong with the kicker. If you could get a small light too to throw some light onto the background, that would be really cool. I don't think it's 100% necessary, but I just want to go over my lighting. This is my lighting when I go to Sault Ste. Marie. We are friends. We use their studio. It's a very small studio. So I use a big, this is like at least 6 feet. It's a shoot through with a black panel in the back. I use it because I'm lacking in space. And when I use this kind of light, it automatically fills in the shadows because light bounces from the ceiling, from the floor, from this here wall here. So I don't need to put a fill light. You can see the kicker lights. They're way in the corner. So that's my hunch, is that your kicker light is not angled behind her. So you might want to pull her away from the background a little more and put the kicker light. Talk about that in a minute. Just let me go through my lighting. Here's my lighting, similar at when I was in Oakville. I used Maggie's studio, and I didn't bring my light. She told me she had a big light, and that's what she had. It's not big enough for what I'm used to. However, it's good. It's like a 36 inch. I like 60 inch. I like big, broad light sources and brought it really, really close as I can. So in spite of that, it still worked. Regardless, we had a very successful fairy day down there. So again, you can see the kicker lights. They're coming in from behind the girl. So the girl's posing in around here. Kicker lights are literally behind her. Now, you might want to check your exposure on your main light. I shoot everything at f8 at 100 ISO. And these kicker lights are about 1/4 to 1/2 a stop less than f8. So 5.6 and a half or 5.6 and 2/3. There's no hard, fast rule. It's like a chef cooking with garlic. I mean, how much do they like? Same here. Here's my Octodome in my studio. You can see the lighting. It's coming in from behind. Literally, it's coming at the camera almost. And the main light, which is in this case a 6-foot Octodome. So as you can tell, I'm using different lighting depending where I'm at. And there's the fourth light. That's a different shoot through. This is a 7-foot shoot through. I use this when I'm at a dance school, which I am here in London, Ontario, and I have a lot of room, so I'll use the big one because I like big. And you can see the angle. Look at the angle. It's almost 90 degrees. Same here. You see my red arrow here? It's almost 90 degrees. So you might want to think about that. So play with your kicker lights and so this is not bad of an angle if you can bring her a little, like another foot forward. The reason it's spilling onto her face is because she's turned here. She's turned towards the light. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not what you intended. So yeah. So you got your kicker here. I don't know where your main is, but if it were my studio, my main would be right in the picture here. You'd have it nice and close at about 90 degrees. The main looks to be like it's almost lined up this way, right? So just try bringing it around a little more so that it carves out, it carves out the, hold on, give me a sec. Give me a sec here. Oh, I took them off. I was going to show you some of my... All right, let me do this instead. So you see how the light is carving this shadow on her on the child's left side. That's one of the reasons why I want that main light to come around a little more. Here, the main light's almost lined up with her. I can tell because of the shadows. It's like butterfly lighting. The shadows, it's probably to the left just a little bit. Not directly on her, but almost directly on her. So bring it around a little more. Test your exposure. Hopefully, if whatever you're at, you could shoot at anything you want, 5.6, f8, f11, whatever you want, but verify that your main light is outputting at about that if you got a light meter. If you don't have a light meter, you're just gonna have to eyeball it. If the kicker light is too strong, just visually knock it down. That's what I do, really, truth be told. So you'll get there. You're on the right track. You got a lot. You're 98% there. You got an awesome set. I showed it to my wife this morning. I asked her what she thought of. My only concern might have been these flowers, and she was like, "No, well, that's nice. She likes that." Try bringing the mushroom right onto the pond. See if that works. That's what we do on all our pictures. And bring the light around like I mentioned. I mean, we could fix all this easy. You can crop it out. And when I do a shot like this, I always shoot vertical. So, but you shot horizontal, whatever. It's not the end of the world. I like the foliage. I like everything about it. I'm not sure what you got way over here off to the right. But whatever that is, looks a little peculiar. Is it another backdrop or over here? See? Anyways. Okay. I'm going to work on workflow in a bit. I'm just going to make a few comments on the pose. I never cross the legs over like that. I want both legs to show because this leg here is kind of doing a peekaboo thing. So that's just a minor detail. I love her finger position. Look at her arm. That's beautiful. You see the kicker light's working. So if you increase that angle of the kicker light a little more. Have you considered getting some of those louvers, like the grids that I have on mine? That helps sort of focus and soften it a little bit more. Something to think about. And bring your main light, but we talked about that. And you mentioned it blowing out the foliage. That's not bad. I mean, it's there, but that's not bad. And if it really bothers you, if you put the grids in, they're not very expensive. And if you just maneuver these plants around a little more to give room for the light to come in, that would help. And when you get the grids on there, you're definitely going to way decrease the amount of spill that's going on onto the backdrop. All right, so let me look at this image. Yeah, the light on her face is underexposed. That's pretty obvious. So bring it in, turn it up, do whatever you need to do. Something's going on. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's being blocked by the foliage. I'm not sure, but there's not enough light on her face. The kicker light's not that bad, especially if you have a proper exposure based on whatever the main light's doing. That'll balance out. Okay, that's a pose that I never do. I always have them facing the camera. So yeah, let me show you what I mean. So look through the manual. I got the poses there. And try and study my posing. I'm going to just show you what I mean. See here? All right. She's sitting on the mushroom. The only time I have her turn sideways is she's facing the camera and her head is turned. You've got this looking up. This is not a good pose. So, and look at her arm position. I mean, this is awkward. So I would turn her facing the camera, have her hands out elegantly, and also she can hold a lantern or hold a frog or hold a light. And she could look down at whatever prop she's holding, or she could look into the pond, or she could be looking at the camera. And I do something similar to this sometimes, but not always. But let me find one. I gotta find one first of all. Give me a second here. Give me a second. I should have planned for this. See, there it is again. You see, she's facing the camera. And she's got that thing going on with her chin on the knee. Anyways, it's not a pose I do often. This is what I'm trying to get at. The pose I'm looking for. If she's sitting on the mushroom, I might do an almost profile where she's either holding the frog or she's holding a light or a lantern, and it's almost a profile. I don't know about that one. Anyways, you know what I mean. So that's to me what's wrong with this pose. It's kind of lost. I mean, what is she doing? What is the intention? All right, so I could salvage that one. And what I'm going to do is do a workflow for you, okay? I want to, I always make an action. I use actions. So I record an action based on the basics of the workflow that I'm going to use. And I usually, every spring when I go into my season, I look at the action and I tweak it a little bit to see if I can improve it a bit. And I don't try and get too worried about that, because sometimes it's good and you think you're improving it, but you're actually just complicating things. So I'm going to create an action based on what I would do in a similar situation. So Erica, this is a test. So I'm not going to send you this action. I'm just showing you what I would do, and I think you should do the same thing. So I use Camera Raw, even if I shoot JPEG. It's an amazing program. Plug in. There, it finally opened. So I hit auto, and then I tweak usually the highlights and the whites and bring it down a bit. Sometimes I'll bring the exposure up. So when I do an action, I use that action the whole year. So my exposures are very, very consistent. Okay, so that's important to sort of like get some consistency going. So you could play with the dehaze just to punch it up a bit. Also clarity, a little bit. So texture and these things, they kind of mimic HDR look, so be careful with it. You don't want to overdo it. So I got the basic raw editor going on this here. So you can see from here to here. Okay. Now I go to Topaz. You don't have to add Topaz, by the way. Some people think it's absolutely necessary. I'm just trying to move my menu so I can get into my filter here. You can't see it, but I have a menu for my screen capture software, and it's blocking my view. There it is, Topaz. Topaz Adjust 5. And what I do with this, wrong one. Is I'll usually go to Detail Medium or Detail Light or Vibrant. Detail Strong. You got to be careful. You don't want to overdo it. See how intense it could look? Okay, let's go Detail Strong, but I'm recording still, remember? I have an action going here, all right? And I'm going to hit Control Shift Fade. So I'm going to fade, and this is going to get built into the action. I'm just going to put the amount of topaz that I want. There's full. Again, you don't even need topaz. That's possibly a little too much. And then I go half sepia. You don't have to go with half sepia. It's what I do. 100% of the time. And hue saturation, 25, 25, 0. Shift control fade, boom, half, maybe a little less. Okay, and there, I'm going to stop recording. There's my basic workflow. It did a lot of this. I don't know why it did all that. So that would normally not get recorded. So let me go into the original and Erica test. I'm going to run it. See that? So when I workflow my images, I just hit the action. I had a ripple effect too to the pond, but I'm not going to get into that. You can see my other workflow videos. Okay, so now what I do and would do for something like this is I would go in here and I would select this area here. Whoops. Let's try it again. I'm probably doing this for no reason, but I'm going to do it anyways. Come on. Let's try it again. I hope you're patient. All right, so I'm just going to go around here. I don't know why it's not letting me select. Okay, let's do this. Normally, this is not the preferred way to get rid of something. I'm using that healing brush. I'm cheating. Normally, I like to select and then just fill. Okay, so if this were my image and I wanted to keep it full horizontal, I would do a proper, let me just show you what I meant. Select, right click, fill. You probably know all this, content aware. Okay, and it usually does a pretty good job. And then I would go in and burn, because it's pretty hot around the edges there. Okay, so I'm doing this really fast, but you get the idea. Impressions by Erica. There we go. I'm going to take your logo off. Okay, one more thing before we bring the textures over. I'm going to go to Ripple. Where is Ripple? Distort. I build this into the action. Wrong one. I gotta make sure I select the right one. Distort, ripple. It's not very strong, is it? There we go. Then we're going to go, and I usually build this into the action if you watch any of my other videos. And then I select, then I erase the ripple into the pond. Well, that didn't work out, did it? I'm going to go full blast, 100%. Alright, so I like that frog, by the way. I like your setup, and everything about it is really, I really like that dress too. That is a really, really nice dress. Looks like you paid a lot of money for it. Alright, before I bring, I'm going to do one more thing, sorry. So if you have to lighten, because it's a little underexposed or a little flat, I do this all the time regardless. Again, go watch my regular workflow. Dodge, curves dodge. See, I got curves burn. What I'm doing is I'm creating a layer, an adjustment layer. I'm going to bring that power up to 100%. I'm going to use the brush, and wherever I brush, it's going to go lighter. See it? So I can go big, lighten the whole area. Then I can flatten, and then I can run that action again. And again, I do this all the time in my studio. See how it's now lightening her face? And you can go in there and lighten a bit of the hair. Got a little bit of a hot spot on her cheek, not the end of the world. And that's the base right there. So now I'm going to try. All right, so I have these layers, textures. I have horizontal, vertical. I have the wings in there, but I rarely ever use them. So what I do is I'll go and select them all, except for the wings. And I size my textures according to whatever files I'm using. So for your image, it's, yeah, you can see it's a lot bigger. So I'm going to size them down. See, they're all selected, so I'm sizing it down simultaneously. Hold the shift key. So it all is designed to save time. There's the ripples. And I go in and erase. You're going to get really fast at this after you do it a few months, few weeks, few years. You just start cruising at no time. Sometimes you can hire somebody part-time to delegate it out, which is what we used to do. But since we've slowed our studio down and only do fairies and pop-up weddings now, I can do it all myself. So we got the ripple, and I got all the other textures in there. If you don't, see that warms it up a little bit. You don't have to do them. And this is Cool Haze. I'm going to take that one out. You have to adjust it according to what you like. So the haze is all in there. Fog, you can see the fog, ripples, neutral haze. I just want to see this one here. This one looks like it's out of sync. Dark edge. Yeah, some of those, let me verify. Oh, that one there was off. Once you have this all tweaked, then it goes really, really quick. But you're pretty close, you're pretty close to being there. So I'm just doing what I would normally do for my workflow. I'm mimicking my basic workflow. For you, tweak, adjust, play, think about it, don't get stressed out. Find what works best for the visuals. There's no hard, fast rule. If it looks good, it looks good. If it looks good, just go with it. And you can see on the bottom, I got those. You can use them all you want, or make your own. Or you can adjust them if you want. I got stars and bursts. Okay. To me, this is not bad. I'm going to flatten it. And then I'm going to do my soft focus. So you might want to go full color, not half sepia. What Ted Linzak does. So this is the soft focus. This is pretty much how I'm just erasing the soft focus. Like if I go, I'm at 10%. If I go full, that's way too soft. So I bring it way down to 10. And this mimics an HDR look. Okay, so I'm not crazy about her expression. She's looking, I don't know, a little smirky. Something like this. Get her to look down. And slowly get her to look up at you, and get her to pick up the lantern. This is a perfect pose, minus the legs crisscrossed. I'm not going to work on that one. Let's play with this one a bit. So I'm going to run the action that I made. That's my wife making an omelet. Let's see what it does. Find my other action. Normally, when I'm at my studio, I use the keyboard shortcuts. I'm going to flatten. I'm going to run that action again. Remember this one here I showed you earlier? Just to lighten the cheeks in the area. It doesn't matter how you get to dodge. I'm dodging basically is what I'm doing. I'm compensated for the fact that her face is a little bit underexposed. I'm going to do one more time. This time I'm going to go in. And I'm just going to lighten the cheeks and forehead. It's a cute pose. I love this pose. It would look a little bit better with that exposure tweaked, but I wouldn't worry about it. Yeah, you got that. Kicker lights. See, that's cute. I'm going fast here, by the way, so let me just do this one more time. Get rid of that, and I'm going to grab my horizontals and bring them over. Scroll down. I'm going to get rid of the ripples because we don't need it. And all right, hold on, give me a second here. I got to select everything. I'm going to size them all at the same time. Hold the shift key and it'll allow me to adjust them while I'm transforming it. Okay. I'm going to get rid of this one again. If for some reason it's darkening, oops. Didn't mean to do that. So you can see where I'm going. I love that frog, by the way. Don't know where the lantern is, but usually I put that light in the lantern. Okay, anyway, so let me just place these randomly. I'm not going to fuss, but you get the idea, right? And I'm going to show you. Oops. Oh, I can't stand it when it does that. I don't know what happened. There. Pretty sure that's what happened, and I figured it out. Okay. I'll show you before and after in a minute. Focus. Big difference, as you can tell. Try and get that lighting though in camera as best you can so that you don't have to go in there and compensate. So I see, yeah, night and day, isn't it? Boom. Boom. You can use Lightroom presets as well for just mimicking whatever steps you're going to use, either similar to what I'm doing or your own steps. Sounds like a kitchen, because I am. So there you go. Let me know if you have any questions. Hopefully this has helped. You're on the right track. Definitely. You got a lot of, everything's working, and you just got to tweak your lighting a bit of the posing. So, all right. Okay. Thanks.